Hello friends, today I'm going to discuss about an editorial from the Hindu. So the editorial titled as for nutrition security on undernourishment. It is brought out by United Nations Standing Committee on Nutrition. So we'll move ahead by knowing the definition of nutrition security. So as per the United Nations Standing Committee on Nutrition, the nutrition security is defined as the food and nutrition security exists when food security, where all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to food, which is consumed in sufficient quantity and quality to meet their dietary needs and food preferences, and is combined with a sanitary environment, adequate health services, and a proper care feeding practices to ensure a healthy life for all household members. So this definition you must know if you're reading this editorial line by line. So it says the all people shall have access to quality food and the insufficient quantity to meet their dietary needs, and is combined with a sanitary environment, adequate health services and proper care and feeding practices to ensure a healthy life for all household household members. So it begins with India remains lacking in the commitment to tackle undernourishment. So it is not taking much effort to tackle this problem. So what is meant by here tackle? It is inadequate in amount or degree, and tackle is taking it on, like taking it as a challenge to solve the problem. And what is meant by undernourishment? Unhealthy or inadequate diet. So India remains is not showing some progress or commitment to tackle undernourishment. So, United Nations State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World Report for 2017 has important pointers to achieve nutrition policy reform. So, it might this report might help central government as well as states uh, to know the weakness of their policies, and to implement the revived policy uh, to to tackle this undernourishment problem. So we'll see what is the main pointer here. Here pointer, it means an indication or hint. So this report will is giving an indication that the policies implemented so far has not given much improvement over undernourishment. So, if you look at the global level, the five agencies that together produced the assessment found that the gains achieved on food security and better nutrition since the turn of century may be at risk. So, it gives a stunning observation that the what are the five agencies which developed this assessment found that gains achieved on food security over the period of 10 years or 100 and over the period of 100 years. So whatever the gains achieved is now facing at risk, like it is losing whatever the gains it has been achieved by the previous policies um, over the period of time. So at risk means it's like using as a phrase, it means danger or peril. So all the absolute numbers of people facing hunger and poor nutrition have always been high. There was a reduction in the rate of undernourishment since the year 2000. That has slowed from 2013 and registering a worrying increase in 2016. So thereby what it concludes that, so even though there is a reduction in the rate of undernourishment since the year 2000, but it has not been the same progress after 2012. So in 2013 it has been slowed and registering a worry increase in 2016. It means in 2016 there is a more problem than 2013. What has been there in 2013. So it means that what is and here the meaning of absolute means it's a complete or total. If you read it with with the meaning of the word, all the total number of people facing hunger and poor nutrition have always been high. There was a reduction in the rate of undernourishment since the year 2000, and that has slowed from 2013, registering a worrying increase in 2016. So you can observe the how this problem over the years is taking up and downs. So the estimate of 850 million people enduring chronic food deprivation in 2016 compared to 775 million in 2014. So there is a increase in number of people who are facing chronic food deprivation, uh, is depressing in itself. But more important is the finding that the deprivation is even greater among people who live in regions affected by conflict and extreme effects of climate change. As you all know that even economic survey has mentioned this point in the agriculture portion chapter. Wherever India is facing a lot of low agriculture productivity, especially in the irrigation area, and due to climate change, and there is also water crisis, which was there in the news 2 to 3 days before. So you need to refer both these points about climate change and agriculture activity relationship. Reason being, India is a agriculture nation since independence, but time and again there is no much improvement over agriculture productivity, as done by different countries. So India need to take this report findings very seriously and should implement all the necessary policies to take or to tackle the problem. So we will see here now, what is the meaning of endure. It means suffer or undergo, and chronic means chronic food deprivation. It means the persistent happening and again. So it clearly says that even though there is a number of policies implemented to tackle with malnutrition, the problem is still persistent in the country. So this figure shows the how it has been increased from previous year. And what is meant by food deprivation? Here, it has the food deprivation is a condition in which one eats food too low or remains deprived of it. It is referred to as the prevalence of undernourishment is based on a comparison of usual food consumption expressed in terms of dietary energy with certain energy requirement norms. And the last one is climate change. As per this definition is as per NASA, it's a long-term change it's a long-term change in Earth's climate. So now we have seen this number of people has been increased from the previous year who are facing chronic food deprivation. So moving on, in a confounding finding, though the report says that child undernutrition rates continue to drop, although 1 in 4 children is still affected by stunting. So it says that, to conclude, that even though the malnutrition or child under nutrition rates continue to drop, but 1 in 4 children is still affected by stunting. So it gives a stunning observation that the people, child under nutrition continue to drop, but although 1 in 4 children is still affected by stunting, it means that there is no absolute success or to make a statement that India is free of malnutrition, or the world is free of malnutrition. So stunting is a condition which affects children growth due to malnutrition. Stunted people typically have short heights and low body masses for their age group. So it is very much important, this stunting. uh, and the confound means here confusing or stunning. These are just averages and do not reflect the disparities among regions within the countries and between state. So it just concludes that it just gives averages, not absolute figures. So you need to mind about these figures. And what are the disparities? It's like imbalance or variation when compared to other countries or developed nations. So the next sentence says, at the impact of economic downturn, many violent conflicts, fall in commodity export revenues, and failure of agriculture owing to drought, floods, are all making food scarce, scarce and expensive for many. So, so what it all concludes that the impact of economic downturn and many violent conflicts among the nations or within the country and fall in commodity export revenues, which again talks about agriculture productivity and failure of agriculture owing to drought and floods are making food scarce and expensive for many. So it means to say that because of these series of actions, making food scarce and expensive for many, and it is very difficult for people who are in the poor condition to afford the food. So they represent a setback. The series of actions like economic downturn, many violent conflicts, falling commodity export revenues, and failure of agriculture owing to drought and floods are making food scarce and expensive for many. So this series of actions are keeping as a setback to all countries trying to meet the sustainable development goal on ending hunger and achieve food security and improved nutrition. So the countries who are trying to meet the sustainable development goals. As you all know that we have India is a country which accepted the sustainable development goals, which is having 17 goals and 116 targets. So one of the sustainable development goals talks about ending hunger and achieving food security and improved nutrition. Even though, for example, if you take from the perspective of India, even though it is trying to meet the sustainable development goal, because of ill-conceived and not properly planned policies makes this challenge very difficult. So India's efforts at improving access to food and good nutrition are led by National Food Security Act. So in India, this food and good nutrition are led by we are dealing with through National Food Security Act. There are special nutritional schemes for women and children operated through states. As you all know that for example, there are we have from the constitution we have three lists. One is the concurrent, one is union or state list. Whenever the particular subject matter falls under state list, where state need to take care of improvement of those subject matter. So I guess this food and health related subject matter falls in state list. So here state need to take care of uh, for implementing carefully planned plans, so that effect will be much more. In spite of such interventions, 14.5% of population suffers from undernourishment, going by the United Nations assessment for 2014 to 2016. So, United Nations assessment is of 2 years. Even though it says that even though there are a good number of policies or a handful number of policies which are implemented through states, uh, still there are people who suffers from undernourishment. At the national level, 53% of women are anemic. So it is a condition of poor, and health ministry data shows. So as per health ministry data, at national level, 53% of women are anemic. So what is more, like the center recently said, it had received only three around 4,000 complaints on the public distribution system over a 5-year period. All this shows that center and state governments are very badly short on the commitment to end undernourishment. So there is no, if you look at these figures, still there is a 53% women are anemic, and there is only still 4,000 complaints on the public distribution system over a 5-year period. It means it gives a conclusion that probable saying that uh, s- all the either center and state governments are very badly short on the commitment. It is not showing the political will to tackle this problem of undernourishment. So institutions such as the state food commissions have not made a big difference either. So at state level, even though there are the state food commissions are there which are entrusted with this responsibility to deal with undernourishment, it doesn't shown much progress over this problem. So distributing nutritious food as a public health measure is still not a political imperative, while ill-conceived policies are making it difficult for many to do this. So this conclusion you can make note of it. So it says that even though distributing nutritious food as a public health measure is still not a political imperative, so it is not coming from the political government which is in place, and it is not prioritizing this as a subject matter to deal with this problem. And while at the same time there are ill-conceived policies like not carefully planned. For example, whenever there is a change in government, they will rename the policies which were introduced by the previous government, even though there is no much progress or careful subjective assessment over the policies, and following up to tackle this problem, or following up on the weakness of the implemented policies. So it makes difficult for many to do this. The report on nutritional deficiency should serve as an opportunity to evaluate the role played by the public distribution system in bringing out the dietary diversity for those relying on subsidized food. So, this gives a short conclusion saying that this report on nutrition deficiency should serve as an opportunity to evaluate the role played by the public distribution system in bringing out the dietary diversity for those relying on subsidized food. So here Niti Aayog make a note of this report saying that, and will frame the policies or will have a discussion on nutritional deficiency as per this report. We need to see, and in the upcoming days, what could be the news about this report. So it serves as an opportunity to evaluate the role played by the public distribution system in bringing out the dietary diversity. So what is meant by here dietary diversity? It means that it is defined as the number of foods or food groups or consumed by an individual or by any member of household inside the home or a reference time period. It is a strong predicator for micronutrient adequacy and overall diet quality. This definition seems like very much important, and act as an indicator for micronutrient adequacy. And in a report issued 2 years ago on the role played by rations or food or provision in shaping household and nutrition security, the Niti Aayog, a National Institution for Transforming India, found that families below the poverty line consume more cereals and less milk compared to the affluent. So it gives a comparison to the affluent people. So the families below the poverty line consume more cereals and less milk compared to the affluent people. But it needs now, as per this nutritional deficiency report, it needs to take a relook at about public distribution system. As we said here, the report on nutritional deficiency should serve as an opportunity to evaluate the role played by the public distribution system. So it means to say that there is a need of subjective assessment on public distribution systems. So to conclude that the complementing rice and wheat with more nutritious food items should be the goal in order to achieve the sustainable development goal, or in order to develop the human capital needed in India. And as you all know that India has a good uh, good amount of demographic dividend, so that it need to take in order to develop, or in order to take advantage of human demographic dividend. It needs to take all these points from the nutritional deficiency report, and should implement in order to reach the goal of a sustainable development goal. So I guess this is the end of the current editorial of today's um, for nutrition security or on undernourishment. You can find this article on Hindu, and make a short note of all the important points which would help in writing an essay. So thank you for watching this lesson, and if you like it, can please share with your friends as well. Thank you.